You know, usually when your phone starts glitching, you kind of just know exactly what the solution is.
Oh, absolutely. It's almost instinctual at this point, right?
Yeah, like the apps are crashing or the screen freezes up.
Or the battery somehow drains from like 80% to dead in 10 minutes.
Exactly. And when that happens, you don't panic. You just plug it into the wall.
You go straight to the settings.
Right? You hit update and you install a brand new operating system. You just kind of wipe the slate clean and reboot.
Right, because the underlying code has become, you know, corrupted or outdated. It's bogged down by all these invisible background processes that are just eating up the RAM.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you run that update, the bugs are patched out, the architecture is stabilized.
And it's just binary. It's highly predictable.
Exactly. It's a completely linear fix.
And it's incredibly comforting, you know, because you know there's a mechanical way to fix the chaos.
Right.
But then, I mean, you look at your own mind.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole different story.
Yeah. Right. You are sitting there in dead stop traffic on a Tuesday morning. Your inbox is just absolutely exploding with emails marked urgent.
And you probably got complex family dynamics pulling at your attention, too.
Exactly. Plus, the news cycle is just this endless barrage of terrifying algorithmic outrage.
It really is. It's designed to keep you stressed.
And your own internal battery is flashing red at 2%. But suddenly, that simple, clean update button, it just doesn't exist.
No, it really doesn't.
We are out here trying to process this deeply chaotic, hyper-accelerated modern reality using mental software that feels, frankly, completely overwhelmed.
I mean, it is the absolute definition of psychological malware.
Wow, psychological malware, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, because the inputs we're dealing with today, the sheer volume of data, the demands, the stressors, they are vastly exceeding our evolutionary processing power.
Right, because we didn't evolve to handle this.
Exactly. The system is overheating because it was literally never designed to handle thousands of micro-crises before lunch.
Which brings us to exactly why we are here today. Welcome to this deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Our mission today is to offer you, the listener, an update. We are unpacking an incredibly potent summary of a really profound text.
And it's a famous one.
Right. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Our goal is to extract the absolute core insights of this foundational text on Stoic philosophy.
We're basically treating it as a definitive, practical guide.
Exactly. A guide for self-discipline, wisdom, and just navigating a meaningful life when everything around you feels completely out of control.
And what makes this particular text so unique, I think, is its origin.
Yeah, tell us about that, because it's wild.
I mean, this isn't a book that was written for publication, and it wasn't designed to be some best-selling self-help guide on an airport bookshelf.
Right, he wasn't looking for a book deal.
No, not at all. These are the private, unedited diary entries of a Roman emperor written almost 2,000 years ago.
Which is just crazy to think about.
It really is. And not just any emperor. He was writing this while living in a freezing military tent.
Right, on the muddy banks of the Danube River, right?
Exactly. He's out there managing a brutal war. He's dealing with a devastating plague that was just decimating his empire.
The Antonine Plague, yeah.
Yep. And on top of all that, he's facing the betrayal of his closest generals.
I mean, that context changes everything. You realize this isn't ivory tower philosophy written by a guy with, like, unlimited free time.
No, this is a man who was essentially the CEO of the known world.
Operating under unimaginable, crushing stress.
Exactly. He was just writing notes to himself to survive the day without completely losing his mind.
And yet, the core code he wrote down, the programming for how to process stress, manage ego, and deal with unavoidable adversity, it's shockingly applicable to your chaotic modern life.
It really is. It's almost as if human nature hasn't actually changed at all.
Just the speed of the inputs has changed.
Precisely. If we look at the overarching framework here, we have to ask why this specific set of ideas matters to you right now.
Right. Why should anyone care about a 2,000-year-old diary?
Well, we live in an era defined by information overload and just endless external pressures.
Oh, absolutely.
You're constantly being told what to care about, what to fear, what to buy. The distraction is literally weaponized against you.
It's exhausting. But this text promises a blueprint for a calm, disciplined, and purposeful life.
Yes. In a world that actively profits off your anxiety. A framework that teaches you how to cut through the noise and reclaim your internal stability.
It isn't just an intellectual exercise.
No, it is a critical tool for psychological survival.
I'd say it's practically an act of rebellion to be calm right now.
Oh, for sure.
So let's really get into the actual mechanics of this operating system.
Let's do it.
The very foundation, the bedrock of everything Aurelius talks about, begins with drawing a harsh, impenetrable boundary between the internal mind and the external world.
Right, the dichotomy of control.
Yeah, the text emphasizes focusing strictly on things within your absolute control and completely accepting what you cannot change.
And it pairs that with the idea that your thoughts literally shape your reality, urging a mindset that is consistently rational.
That dichotomy of control really seems like the firewall of the entire system.
It absolutely is.
Mhm.
Before we can act meaningfully in the world, before we can manage a career or a family, we really have to establish what is actually on our side of the wall.
Right.
Because you take the instruction to accept what we cannot change to its logical, ruthless conclusion.
Which is pretty intense.
Yeah, you realize that almost everything in the universe is outside of your absolute control.
Everything. You cannot control the macroeconomy.
Can't control the weather.
You cannot control the traffic jam you're stuck in.
And most importantly, you absolutely cannot control other people.
So if you strip all of that away, if you genuinely accept that the traffic and the economy are untouchable variables, what is actually left?
Well, the only true domain of absolute control is your own mind.
Just your mind.
Yeah, specifically, your cognitive framing of the events that happen to you.
So when the text asserts that your thoughts shape your reality, it isn't engaging in magical thinking.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It isn't saying that if you think really hard about $1 million, a briefcase of cash is going to appear.
Right. It's not the law of attraction.
Exactly. It is pointing to a very real, scientifically backed neurological mechanism.
Because at first glance, your thoughts shape your reality sounds like something printed on a floral coffee mug.
Oh, totally. It sounds super fluffy.
But there is actual hard science behind what he was observing in the year, 170 AD?
Absolutely. Think about it through the lens of modern neuroscience.
Okay.
An event happens in the external world. Let's say you receive a highly critical email from your boss.
Ugh, the worst.
Right. But objectively, that is just raw, neutral data. Words on a screen.
But it doesn't feel neutral.
No, because immediately, your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, triggers a huge threat response.
Right, your heart starts pounding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your brain starts telling a story. It says, I am going to be fired. I don't be able to pay my mortgage. My entire life is ruined.
We've all been there. It spirals so fast.
So fast. And the text's instruction to stay rational is essentially the practice of using your prefrontal cortex.
The logical part of the brain.
Right, the executive part, to manually override that primitive emotional response.
So the external event hasn't actually changed. The email still exists.
The email is still there. But by changing the internal story, you literally alter your physiological and psychological experience of the world.
Wow. Your reality changes from a state of total panic to a state of, well, just a problem waiting to be solved.
Precisely. You shift the reality from an existential threat to an administrative task.
I think of it kind of like the engineering of a deep-sea submarine.
Oh, I like that. How so?
Well, if you take a submarine down to the Mariana Trench, the pressure of the ocean outside is catastrophic. It is inherently lethal.
Right, it'll crush you instantly.
Yeah, and you cannot go out there and ask the ocean to stop being heavy. You can't control the water.
You just have to deal with it.
Right. The only thing keeping the crew alive is the structural integrity of the hull. And the stoic mind is that hull.
That's a highly accurate representation of the mechanism, actually.
Because you aren't trying to lower the pressure of the external world. You are ensuring your internal walls are reinforced enough that the pressure doesn't crush you.
Exactly. The external world is always going to provide crushing pressure. The goal is internal impermeability.
But wait, hold on. I want to push back on this a little.
Sure.
If the directive here is to control your thoughts and stay, quote, positive and rational, how do we reconcile that with the very real danger of toxic positivity?
That is a really great question.
Because if we are living in a submarine and there's a massive leak, just sitting there saying, well, the water is refreshing, I'm staying positive, that's delusional.
Oh, 100% delusional.
If your life is falling apart, isn't telling yourself a positive story just a form of denial?
That distinction is incredibly important, and it hinges entirely on the specific pairing of the words positive and rational.
Okay, break that down for me.
Well, toxic positivity is fundamentally irrational
Yeah.
because it is a denial of objective reality.
Right, ignoring the leak.
Right, pretending a leak in a submarine isn't happening is a failure to engage with the truth.
And Aurelius wouldn't support that.
Not at all. The philosophy Aurelius outlines is strictly anti-delusion. A rational, positive response to a crisis isn't smiling at the disaster. It's pragmatic.
Walk me through what that pragmatic response actually looks like in a modern crisis then.
Let's say you've just been unexpectedly laid off from your job.
Okay, a huge stressor.
Huge. Now, toxic positivity says, everything happens for a reason. This is the best day of my life. I'm going to find my true passion.
Which is annoying.
Very. But despair, the other extreme, says, I am worthless. My career is over. I will never recover from this.
And both of those are just stories.
Exactly. Both are completely irrational stories your brain is inventing. They aren't facts.
So what is the rational response?
The rational response is to observe the raw data. You say, my employment has been terminated. That is an objective fact.
Okay.
Panicking will not give me my job back. Despair will cloud my judgment and make it harder to network.
Right.
So the most effective, productive thing I can do right now, the only thing in my control, is to calmly update my resume and reach out to 3 contacts.
Wow. So the positivity here isn't blind optimism.
No, not at all.
It is simply the quiet, unshakable belief that you are capable of handling the crisis through reason.
Exactly. It's functional optimism.
Okay, so let's bring it to a really mundane example. Tomorrow morning, when you spill coffee all over your laptop right before a massive virtual presentation.
A nightmare scenario.
Yeah. The protocol kicks in. The very first step isn't screaming at the universe.
No.
It isn't a huge spike in cortisol. The very first step is a rapid, almost instantaneous categorization of variables.
What is in my control?
Exactly. Grabbing a towel, texting my colleague to start the meeting without me, logging in from my phone.
And what requires radical acceptance?
The fact that the liquid has already touched the motherboard, it's done.
Right. It's in the past.
So any mental energy you spend being angry about the spilled coffee is energy you are actively stealing from the solution.
Exactly. It is fundamentally about the conservation of cognitive energy.
Cognitive energy, I like that.
Because every time you get angry at a bad driver, or every time you stress over some rumor at work,
You are spending highly valuable processing power on an uncontrollable variable.
yes, the entire goal of this internal firewall is to stop making bad investments with your mental energy.
Man, that makes so much sense. But, having a perfectly calibrated, calm mind sitting alone in a dark room, that doesn't actually accomplish much.
No, it doesn't. You can't just meditate your life away.
Right. At some point, you actually have to interface with the physical world. The internal state has to become an external action.
Yes, and this is where the text pivots from theory to practice.
It focuses heavily on self-discipline and living with purpose.
Extremely heavy.
It demands that we stay calm, patient, and disciplined in all situations, acting with honesty, integrity, and responsibility every single day.
The transition from mind to action is so critical here. Because internal calm is entirely useless if it doesn't manifest as external discipline.
And the standard Aurelius sets here is just towering.
It's intimidating, honestly. He doesn't say to stay calm in most situations or, when you've had a full 8 hours of sleep and a good cup of coffee.
Right, when it's easy.
Right. He demands discipline in all situations.
Which really frames patience and calmness not as innate personality traits.
Like, oh, she's just a calm person.
Exactly. But rather as continuous active verbs. It's something you do, not something you are.
Yes, it's an active practice.
But I've got to say, if discipline is a continuous action, it sounds exhausting.
It really does sound like a lot of work.
I think for most people, acting with intense discipline, unyielding honesty, and deep responsibility every single day, it sounds like a recipe for massive burnout.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we're already stretched so thin. If you are constantly forcing yourself to be this highly disciplined, stoic warrior, doesn't your battery just drain faster?
It would, yes. If you view discipline as a restriction.
Okay, but how else do you view it?
Well, the text treats discipline, and specifically honesty and integrity, as the ultimate form of energy efficiency.
Energy efficiency, that's interesting.
Think about the massive cognitive load required to maintain a lie, or even just to be inauthentic.
Oh, sure. You have to remember what you said to who.
Exactly. If you act without honesty, you have to remember the lie. You have to manage the constant low-grade anxiety of being found out.
And you have to construct secondary lies to support the original one.
Right. You're essentially running massive battery draining programs in the background of your mind at all times.
That is a brilliant way to look at it. It's like having 50 tabs open on your web browser and wondering why your computer is freezing.
That is the perfect analogy.
When you are performing for people or being deceitful or hiding your mistakes at work, those are all open tabs.
Precisely. They just eat up your RAM. But acting with honesty and integrity, it is highly energy efficient.
You just close all the tabs.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just tell the truth, you present reality exactly as it is, and then you completely let go of the outcome.
Because how the other person reacts is on their side of the firewall?
Exactly. It is uncontrollable.
Wow.
So the discipline of honesty isn't designed to exhaust you. It's designed to streamline your entire operating system so you have energy left for what actually matters.
Honesty as energy efficiency. I love that. That completely reframes the concept of living with purpose, too.
How so?
Well, a lot of modern self-help tells us that finding our purpose means discovering some grand cosmic destiny.
Right, like you need to save the world.
Yeah, like you need to invent a life-saving medical device or become a billionaire tech visionary.
And if you don't do that, you've failed.
Exactly. If you are just working middle management or staying home raising kids, you don't have a quote-unquote purpose.
Right, which is just a terrible way to view life.
But Aurelius defines purpose through these micro-actions, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. The text locates purpose entirely in the present moment and in your immediate duty.
So your purpose isn't a destination 20 years from now?
No. Your purpose is the exact task in front of you.
Okay.
If you are sweeping a floor, your purpose is to sweep it with total attention and integrity.
Right.
If you are answering a difficult email, your purpose is to be honest and clear. The action itself, executed with responsibility, is the purpose.
It really democratizes purpose. It means you don't need a special career to have a meaningful life.
Not at all.
You just need to apply integrity to whatever is directly in front of you today.
That's exactly it.
But, there is a massive complication to all of this.
Oh, there always is. What are you thinking?
We've talked about managing our own thoughts, right? And we've talked about managing our own actions.
Right.
But we don't live in a vacuum. We have to interact with a world populated by 8 billion other human beings.
Yeah, that's the rub.
And many of those people are acting entirely out of ego, malice, or just deep irrationality.
The ultimate uncontrollable variables.
Yeah.
Other people.
Right. And the text provides a very specific protocol for this.
It does.
It explicitly links the avoidance of ego with treating others with kindness and respect. It demands humility.
Yes.
So why are those concepts so tightly woven together in this framework?
Well, we really have to deconstruct what ego actually is within this philosophy.
Okay, wait, is it?
Ego is essentially a processing error.
A processing error.
Yeah. It is a corrupted lens that takes neutral external data and falsely translates it as a personal attack.
Oh, wow.
Ego is the voice that says, I deserve better than this commute, or how dare they speak to me that way in the meeting.
Right, it makes everything about you.
Exactly. And doing that shatters the rational mind we just spent so much time building.
I view ego as an overly aggressive spam filter on an email account.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, like instead of just sorting the mail, it looks at a completely neutral message, like maybe your colleague asking a clarifying question about your project.
Which is totally normal.
Right. But the spam filter categorizes it as a highly malicious threat. It triggers all these alarms.
Yeah.
And suddenly you are defending yourself against an attack that never actually happened, completely destabilizing your own peace of mind.
And this is exactly why treating others with kindness and respect isn't framed merely as a moral imperative in the text.
It's not just about being a good person.
No. I mean, the text isn't just telling you to be a nice person for the sake of societal harmony. It is framing kindness as a hard, rational necessity for protecting your own psychological machinery.
Wow.
If your goal is internal calm, antagonizing others or acting out of wounded ego is wildly illogical. You are actively inviting chaos into your system.
But let me ask you this. If I am actually doing this work,
Right.
if you are waking up, regulating your nervous system, filtering your thoughts, acting with total integrity, and taking responsibility for your life,
Doing all the hard work.
yeah, doesn't that inherently create a sense of superiority?
Ah, the superiority trap.
Right. You look at a coworker who constantly gossips, plays the victim, creates toxic drama. Or you look at a driver weaving through traffic in a rage.
It's hard not to judge.
It is incredibly easy, almost natural, to think, I am better than you because I'm doing the work and you are a mess.
Yeah, it is.
how do you reconcile rigorous elite self-improvement with genuine humility? Isn't arrogance the natural byproduct of discipline?
That is probably the most common trap of any self-improvement philosophy.
Yeah.
The ego loves to hijack your discipline and wear it as a badge of superiority.
So how does Aurelius cut that up?
He cuts off that trap by returning to the mathematical logic of determinism and control.
Okay.
Think about it. Why is that coworker gossiping and creating drama? Why is that driver raging?
Well, because they lack discipline.
Right.
Because they're letting their amygdala run the show.
Yes, but more fundamentally, they're operating on their own corrupted software. They are reacting to their own specific combination of genetics, childhood conditioning, unhealed trauma, and current stressors.
Things you have no visibility into.
Exactly. You do not control their inputs, nor do you control their processing power. To judge their outputs, their behavior, and feel superior to it is a logical fallacy.
Wow.
It is like being angry at a dog for not knowing how to speak French. You're just misunderstanding the nature of the entity you are observing.
That is profound. It removes the moral judgment from other people's bad behavior and views it almost like a weather pattern.
Yes, exactly like weather.
You don't get morally outraged at a rainstorm. You don't yell at the clouds. You just open an umbrella.
Exactly. The text demands humility, because it recognizes that everyone is fighting a complex battle against their own undisciplined minds.
So you treat people with kindness and respect not because they have necessarily earned it through their own good behavior.
No, not at all. You do it because your internal standard requires it, your integrity demands it.
Right.
If you let a toxic coworker drag you into a screening match, they haven't just acted poorly, they have successfully overwritten your code with their malware.
Let's ground this in a highly specific, modern scenario.
Okay, let's hear it.
You are managing a remote team. One of your employees continually drops the ball, misses deadlines, and then subtly tries to blame you during a massive Zoom call with senior leadership just to cover their own tracks.
Oh, wow. Classic corporate gaslighting.
Exactly. Your ego just screams for vengeance. Every biological impulse wants to publicly dismantle them, present all the receipts, and ruin their reputation right there on the spot.
Which, of course, would trigger a massive escalation. It would create months of tension and drain immense amounts of your cognitive energy.
Exactly. So applying the protocol here means taking a micropause and running the variables.
Right.
Is there a lack of integrity in your control? No. Is there insecurity your problem to solve? No.
Exactly.
What is your goal? Your goal is to maintain your own calm, protect the project, and act with unshakable integrity.
So what do?
So you don't scream, you don't insult them. You simply state the factual timeline of events clearly, without malice, correcting the record for leadership.
Right.
You treat the employee with basic professional respect. You are insulating your system. It looks like proactive kindness, but it's actually the ultimate defensive posture.
That's a great way to see it. The ultimate defensive posture.
You just refuse to let their chaos infect your peace.
And really, it is the ultimate exercise of power. You are demonstrating that they simply do not have the clearance level required to alter your internal state.
Man. But, you know, this brings us to the final and undoubtedly the most difficult aspect of this philosophy.
Yeah, the hardest part.
We've covered managing our thoughts. We've talked about streamlining our actions and insulating ourselves from the chaos of other people.
Right.
But what happens when the universe just pulls the rug entirely out from under you?
When things really fall apart.
Right. What happens when the crisis isn't just a spilled coffee or a rude coworker, but a terminal diagnosis, a massive financial collapse, or the death of someone you love?
The real tragedies.
Yeah. We have to look at how this operating system handles the ultimate, undeniable losses of control, severe adversity, inevitable change, and human mortality.
This is truly the testing ground for the whole philosophy. Because a philosophy is completely worthless if it only works when the sun is shining and your bank account is full.
Right. Anybody can be a stoic on a beach.
Exactly. But the text confronts extreme hardship head-on. It asserts that challenges and adversity are simply, quote, part of life.
And that phrasing is deeply intentional, isn't it?
Very intentional.
Yeah.
We have a tendency in modern culture to view adversity as an interruption to our lives.
Yeah.
We think once I get through this awful legal battle, or once I recover from this injury, or once this grief passes, then I can finally get back to my real life.
We treat the obstacle as a detour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Aurelius argues that the obstacle is the path. The adversity is the life. The challenges are not bugs in the system. They are the core features of the human experience. And navigating them requires the exact courage and wisdom we've been cultivating in the previous steps.
It's almost like looking at the architecture of a video game.
Okay, I can see that.
When you play a game, you don't get angry that there are enemies or puzzles or difficult terrain. You don't view the obstacles as glitches in the software.
Right, because the obstacles or the level design.
Exactly. The friction is what makes it a game. If there were no obstacles, you would just be walking in a straight line in an empty room.
And you'd turn it off out of sheer boredom in 5 minutes.
Right. Hardship in life operates the same way. It is the resistance against which your character is built.
It is resistance training for the soul.
Yeah. If your life was perfectly smooth, insulated, and comfortable, you would never actually know who you are. You would never know if your patience, your courage, or your discipline actually worked. Adversity provides the necessary friction for growth.
That is a really radical reframing of suffering. But the text pushes this even further into the most extreme territory possible.
What does it demand?
It demands that we accept life's temporary nature, that we explicitly train ourselves not to fear death or the sweeping changes of impermanence.
And this is where I think the modern mind just violently recoils.
Oh, absolutely.
It is so easy to read a translated Roman text that says, "Do not fear death." It sounds poetic.
Sure, it sounds great on paper.
But on a purely biological, cellular level, that fear is hardwired into our brainstem.
It's evolution.
We are evolutionarily programmed by millions of years of natural selection to survive at all costs, to cling to life, and to seek the safety of permanence.
That's how we survived as a species.
Exactly. So how can a philosophical framework ask you to simply override millions of years of biological programming? Are we supposed to just be unfeeling, apathetic robots when we lose someone we love?
No. And the goal is emphatically not apathy. It is not about suppressing your grief or pretending that loss doesn't hurt.
Okay, good.
Because the Stoics were not robots. They loved their children, their partners, and their lives. The goal here is absolute clarity.
Clarity about what?
The philosophy is pointing out a massive logical fallacy in how we allocate our energy.
Okay, where is the fallacy?
Well, we spend immense, unquantifiable amounts of mental and emotional energy dreading the inevitable.
That's true.
We are paralyzed by the fear of aging, the fear of our children growing up and leaving home, the fear of our own eventual death.
Constant low-grade dread.
But because these things are an absolute non-negotiable certainty, because they are the very definition of variables completely outside of our control, fearing them is a devastating waste of the life you currently have.
So the fear isn't just unpleasant, it's practically useless.
It is worse than useless. It actively robs you of the present.
Wow.
There is a psychological tool the Stoics used. It's often called negative visualization.
I've heard of this. It sounds intense.
It is. It involves intentionally meditating on the loss of the things you love. You sit and deeply internalize the fact that your career will end, your health will fade, and the people you love will die.
Which sounds incredibly morbid to a modern listener. I mean, we spend billions of dollars on industries designed to help us pretend we aren't going to age or die.
Anti-aging creams, supplements, everything.
Yeah.
It sounds morbid until you understand the mechanism. It is essentially exposure therapy.
Right.
By looking directly at the worst-case scenario, by accepting the total impermanence of the world, you actually strip the fear of its power.
You stop running from it.
Exactly. You free up a massive amount of mental bandwidth. When you are no longer subconsciously exhausted by the anxiety of future loss, you have all that energy available to pour into the present moment.
That makes a lot of sense.
If you truly, deeply accept that your time with your partner is temporary, the rational response isn't to be depressed.
What is it?
The rational response is intense, fierce gratitude. You don't take them for granted today because you have intellectually accepted that tomorrow isn't guaranteed.
Wow. So it's not the nihilistic view of nothing matters because we are all going to die anyway.
No, not at all.
It is the exact opposite. It is everything matters intensely right now because it is temporary. The impermanence is actually the mechanism that creates the value. Scarcity drives value.
Precisely. Acceptance of death and change is the only thing that gives the present moment its supreme weight. If we lived forever, no single day would have any urgency or meaning.
That brings this entire operating system full circle in such a beautiful, cohesive way.
It really ties it all together.
Because for you, the listener, applying this means recognizing that the low-grade anxiety you feel about a changing industry or your kids getting older or your own health, that is completely natural biology.
It's normal.
But holding on to that dread, feeding it, letting it dictate your mood, that is optional.
Completely optional.
That is an unhelpful background program draining your battery. You can actively choose to uninstall the fear of the inevitable by accepting it.
And you replace that dread with the courage to engage fully with the reality of today.
Let's pull all of this together. We've covered a massive, sprawling architecture of thought today from what is ultimately a very concise, practical source.
You really have.
If we look at the ultimate conclusion, it defines this philosophy as a cohesive system for living a calm, disciplined, and purposeful life purely by controlling your thoughts and actions.
That's the core.
And what I really hope you take away from this deep dive is how perfectly these ideas interlock. It is an airtight, sequential chain.
The logic builds upon itself perfectly.
Right. It starts at the deepest internal level.
Yeah.
Mental mastery, recognizing the firewall of control, and actively framing your thoughts rationally, that creates internal stability.
Step 1.
And that stability allows you to translate thought into action, acting with energy-efficient honesty and disciplined purpose every single day.
Step 2.
That disciplined routine creates a secure foundation, which then allows you to interact with the chaos of other people with genuine humility and defensive kindness.
Exactly.
And ultimately, having that clean conscience, that lack of ego, and that rational mind gives you the strength to face life's inevitable adversities and its temporary nature without shattering. It all starts and ends with the microscopic choices of what you allow your mind to focus on.
As a final reflection, what stands out most clearly to me is the profound, enduring utility of this framework.
Yeah.
Remember the context we started with. These were the late-night, personal writings of a man trying to navigate betrayal, war, plague, and unimaginable burden.
And a freezing tent.
Right. It is a powerful reminder that while technology changes, the core mechanics of human suffering and the tools required for overcoming it remain remarkably constant.
They really do.
The exact same psychological principles that kept a historical figure from collapsing under the weight of an empire can guide you through a brutal corporate restructuring, a painful divorce, or just the overwhelming noise of a Tuesday morning. The human mind operates on the same hardware it always has.
It really is the ultimate timeless update. We started by talking about how chaotic the mind can get, like a glitching phone burdened by outdated, corrupted software.
Yeah.
The ideas we've explored today are the patch. But as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over as you step back into the noise of your day.
Let's hear it.
Given the absolute core truths we've unpacked here, that your thoughts literally dictate your physical experience of reality, and that your life, your relationships, and your current circumstances are undeniably, unavoidably temporary, I want you to ask yourself a hard question. If you deeply, truly accepted right in this exact moment that tomorrow was absolutely not guaranteed, would the minor things you are currently stressing out trying to control still matter? Or would you immediately drop the ego, let go of the exhaustion of pretending, and shift completely to the kindness, the clear purpose, and the intensely present focus that this philosophy champions? The external world will always be a storm, but the choice of how you run your mind's software in the center of it is entirely yours. Keep diving deep.